Hello, welcome to Sound and Fury Book Reviews. As usual, I am Tina. Today I'm doing the last book in my Indie April readathon, Indie April month, and that is Unanimity by Alexandra Almeida. And this is book one of the Spiral Worlds books. It's quite the little chonker here. So I received a copy from the author in exchange for a fair review. An ambitious start to a series, Unanimity is a unique story with an interesting premise, and it all takes place in one day. What is it about? Shadow is a reluctant god with a broken mind and a death wish. He used to be Thomas Astley Byron, an affluent young screenwriter whose creativity and idealism saved the world from the brink of collapse. Together with Henry Nowak, an AI expert, Tom created heaven on earth by inventing a Jungian stimulated reality that helps humans confront their dark sides. The benevolent manipulation platform turned the two unelected leaders into beloved gods, but now everything is failing. The world suffers as the sentimental Tom descends into his own personal hell, becoming the embodiment of everything he despises and a shadow of his former self. His journey from an optimistic, joyful Tom to a gloomy shadow is paved with heartache and sinister interference from emerging technology. Humans and bots fight for his heart, but their aims differ. Some want to own it, some to dissect it, and others to end its foolish beat. Estranged from the love of his life, the activist poet Nathan Storm, Tom fails to realize the biggest threat comes from within. None of the sticky stories that steer his life end well. Now, a young goddess, Estelle Nagoy, has been appointed to replace him, and unlike Shadow, Stella takes no prisoners, and her heart bleeds for no one. Who's pulling on Shadow's heartstrings? Are their intentions malign or benign? It's all a matter of perspective, and Shadow has none left. Whew, that's a long one there. I'll be frank and say that novels that take place in virtual worlds are not my favorite subgenre of sci-fi. There are exceptions. Snow Crash was fun. Permutation City was interesting. I love Neuromancer. But in general, I never find that the stakes are that high for me in a story about a virtual world. Like, oh no, the worst virtual world is crumbling. So what? Go outside and walk in the woods. I also don't use like Hey Google or whatever that thing is on your phone. I sound like an old woman now. And I also don't have a ubiquitous robot lady in my house. I honestly can't think of a single thing that I would ask her to do for me or look up for me that I can't just do with my phone. I don't know. Maybe I'm weird. Tell me in the comments if you have one of those Alexa things and if you actually use it for anything, because I like struggle to think of what I would do with it. Like I'm not a listen to music in my house kind of person. I listen to it like in my headphones, so I don't even have like a speaker system. I would have to turn on my TV. Like, can she do that for me? I don't know. That being said, while this novel takes place a lot in the virtual world, there are scenes outside of it, and the stakes in the virtual world actually relate to the real world. So my, like, not concerns, but the thing I'm not super into in virtual reality books doesn't apply here. So I thought that was really well done. People who love virtual worlds, though, will also still love this book, as it deals with what happens when creators of virtual worlds become themselves enmeshed within it. There's a great focus on AI and other related tropes as well, so if you're really into that kind of like cyberpunky aspect, this is really cool. I wouldn't classify this as a cyberpunk as it lacks the kind of punk part, but it definitely has like a cyber aspect to it. It is not, though. Cybernarc. Anyway, the characters and concepts are well wrought. The characters are dynamic and varied with a focus on economic and socio-political differences. They are morally gray at different kind of levels, and in this regard, they seem realistic and make interesting decisions. Some of them I was like, okay then, but nothing that didn't really match with like their personality or like kind of their plans. Yet there was something that held me back from really like loving them, perhaps because while their motivations made sense, some of their goals I couldn't connect with personally. I did enjoy the LGBTQ plus romance though. That was great. I thought that was realistic and well depicted and was really, really good. Now, the prologue is a bit flowery and starts kind of in medias res, which is fine, but I figured I'd mention that in case the prologue doesn't work for you if you check out like a sample. Once you get into the first couple of chapters and see what the novel is doing, it's told in both the past and the present. It works really, really well, and the kind of abrasiveness of Stella in the prologue makes sense later on, because in the first prologue, I didn't really like her. I was kind of like, who is this woman? But it builds on that, and you're like, oh, okay. It's also such an ambitious project. You know, it's a fairly hefty book, and there's a series of these, and they all focus on one character over one day, and that's really cool. And I love this aspect of self-published books because what publisher is going to pick something so niche and so kind of complex? Not a lot, I don't think. That's why I think self-publishing is so important, because it allows people to take risks and do experiments. And sometimes those risks don't pay off, but sometimes they really do. I've read a lot of really, really great, self-published sci-fi. And yeah, I definitely think you should check this one out. It's really cool. I will say, though, this is not my favorite cover in the world. I'm just not fond of like hand-drawn full face covers. It's just like not my aesthetic. So I like the color scheme. I think the teal is really cool. Yeah, I just had to say that because it is a book read channel and covers are part of the book. So yeah, overall, yeah, a really interesting, fun book, and I thank again the author for sending me a copy. I love getting copies of physical books. So yeah, thanks for watching, and onwards to May.